What's up, guys? Welcome to the YouTube channel. Today we have an in-person interview with Boyuan Zhao. I've known Boyuan maybe 5 years and we're finally meeting in person here in Dubai, which is quite cool. So Boyuan, welcome to the channel.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, how far is it? At least 4.5 years.
Yeah.
You know? Because you started I think you were still freelancing back then when I first got to know you. And that was when I first started like business, you know? So Michael's definitely like an OG.
Yeah, and before we get into the interview, like one of the things of Dubai we were talking about is the sheer amount of people here. It's both a positive in terms of you just meet everybody, but also it's a lot of distractions. There's just so many people to meet. I mean, I've been traveling and meeting people with business, but in Dubai specifically, I've averaged meeting like 5 or 6 people I've known online every single week. And it's just, it's insane the sheer volume.
Yeah, man. The thing about Dubai that I like is rather than you needing to travel to like different cities, people just come to Dubai like at least once a year, you know? So you get to meet everyone without moving. Every week, there's at least 1 or 2 people saying, oh, I'm flying in, like, let's do something. I'm like, yeah, great. Like, I want to meet all of these guys. And the downside is you end up not being as focused.
Yeah. I could understand it, but it is certainly cool because I'm just here for a month to go and like, oh, wow, you know, haven't seen you in person ever, or a number of other people. So I guess jumping into the interview here, my first question to ask everybody is, who are you and what do you do?
Sure, yeah. So I'm Boyuan, obviously, and I run an email marketing agency helping e-commerce brands. So I've been doing that for 4.5 years, actually, yeah. And yeah, we just grew from like a small agency to a decently sized one. And we have like 15 full-time employees now all over the world. It's a remote team. So I really like the business. It's like, and in particular, like how I've structured the team structure. So I don't actually manage 15 people, which is awesome. I manage like one main point of contact, which is my COO. And he manages the rest of the team with the team leaders.
We'll definitely get more into team structure, but just taking it back a little bit, what was the initial motivation to start the agency? Did you come from working a corporate job? Were you in school? Like, what was the first kick to actually get into the space?
Sure, I was broke. I mean, so I dropped out of university without a business because I was like, I'm just done with uni. And the goal was always to just make some money because I was like, we immigrated from China as a kid. So I wasn't gonna let my like parents' effort go to waste in terms of bringing me to like a Western country, and yeah, and I didn't really know what to do. And I at the time I was doing computer science with AI at university, and as a result, I was good with computers, right? And I was like, oh, e-commerce, I could probably figure out because it needs computers. That was the dumbass logic I had. Like I was like, oh yeah, computer science equals econ, like so stupid. But yeah, I managed to figure it out, and main motivation, not be broke.
There we go.
Yeah, like I want to make money, you know? I feel like pretty standard.
So did you start in the agency space or started like trying e-commerce stores?
I started straight away in an agency, so I ran ads for e-com brands for about a year, and then I dove into the email marketing side, because originally emails was actually just an upsell. But then we realized like media buying, there's just not that much value to add when it comes to doing just media buying alone for an e-com brand, unless you get into creatives and become more of a growth agency. And that wasn't the direction that I wanted to go into. So just double down on emails. So it's always been agency because high cash flow, no startup cost. I was like like £800 in debt, so like $1,000 into my overdraft. So definitely had not enough money to start an e-com, you know?
Yeah, so when you were starting, you know, a lot of people that watch my channel, they're new. We'll get into what you do now for client acquisition, but when you were starting, I always like to ask, how did you get your first 2-3 clients? Because those are obviously the hardest ones, and it's interesting hearing the different answers from people I talk to.
Cold email.
Cold email.
Yeah, straight away. So I bought a course back then. It wasn't very specific. Like it didn't teach you how to actually, a whole concept that I learned, because it was one of these like beginner B2C courses. So these are more like mindset and just telling you the general direction. And the only thing I learned was, oh yeah, you should be spending all your time outreaching. And back then I was naive to the point where I just didn't know, like, I just was a blank slate. So if you told me to do something, I would do it, right? Without question. So I was like, okay, outreach. How do I outreach? Well, I can send emails or I can do DMs. And back then, like a lot of beginners watching this, like you don't have a nice lifestyle on Instagram and you don't have like all the right people following you. So when you do DMs, you have no social proof. Whereas now if I DM someone, most likely I'm going to get a reply because there's always going to be mutual. They probably follow someone that knows me and yada, 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 right? So back then I was like, okay, cold email. Oh, okay, this is a new word to me, right? How do I send cold emails? I just Googled how to send cold emails and it was a HubSpot article. So I just used HubSpot, which, for a complete beginner, HubSpot is like the worst platform to use because you're uploading individual, it's very much like account-based marketing, right? And that's not the type that you want to go down. So long story short, I used HubSpot to get my first couple of clients, and then I moved over to Lemlist, which was the platform of choice back then. Now I think it's more like Instantly or like Smart Lead or whatever, right? But yeah, it was an iterative process for sure. It wasn't like, oh, I just bought a course and suddenly everything became clear. Like it's never like that,
And do you know how long it took you to sign your first deal?
Yeah, so I was 24th day. I closed a $3,480 retainer.
That's a big retainer to jump into. Was it just like blind confidence or how did you come to that number?
Yeah. So basically, I did door-to-door sales. So that, it didn't teach me how to sell high-ticket B2B. But what it did teach me was, number one, it's a numbers game. Sure. So I knew if I did enough cold email, because I was like, okay, each cold email I send is the equivalent of me knocking on a door, right? So if I just send more, I can compensate a shit quality cold email with volume, So I just did that. And then I got my first few meetings. And then back then I was like, okay, $1,000 a month is not going to be life changing because I'm paying my contractor like $500, right? Like, fuck this. So I knew that I wanted to close only high ticket, and the number for 3,480 was I wanted to close on 3.5K, but I knew that in my head I was like, okay, 3,480 is more of a specific number, so it gives the impression that I'm doing, like I arrived at this number like through a meticulous like calculation, right? So I knocked off $20 on 3,500.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I mean, it does make sense. I've read that in a couple sales books. I don't necessarily apply it now, but...
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. But like, I didn't even read it in a book. I was like, I need to make this number look like it's well thought out, not just 3,500,
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So you got the first couple clients that way. What was the step between having a handful of clients to like a consistent outreach process? Was it more cold email? Did you add in other channels?
Yeah. So we got to like 30K a month with just cold. And then I got a bit, honestly, cold, I want to scratch my eyeballs out, but it's because of the way I did it initially, right? I would scrape 20 leads manually, and I would verify them one by one, because back then I didn't have any money, right? So I was like, hunter.io, the free email verifier. I would verify that one by one, 20, 30 leads a day. And when that plan ran out, I bought a VPN tool. So I just VPN, incognito, boom, like verify. Like it was painful. I was doing outreach like that for 6 months. And I got myself, after 10, because eventually I outsourced the lead gen portion, right? Like the lead scraping. I was scraping leads, can you imagine, for like 6 months. I was making 20K a month. I was making like 15K a month scraping leads by myself.
That's wild.
No tools. I did not know about Apollo. I did not know about like any of this shit, So long story short, that was basically my first year, And now it's like a lot of it is intros, YouTube. Now we're setting up outbound. But agency gets so much easier after like the first 2 years.
One thing I want to emphasize there is so many beginners are looking for a shortcut.
Oh yeah,
they're looking at the AI solution that automatically does it, or of a AI appointment setter, or of a tool that sets up all your things. Like everybody I've talked to has gotten their first client in different ways, but the one thing they all had in common was manual hard work.
Brute force, bro.
Yes.
Like, because the thing is, and this, I have a few like one-on-one students now, because I'm trying to build out like a done with you coaching program. Don't reach out to me for one-on-ones. I'm not doing anymore. But the biggest commonality is they want to do the perfect action. And I just tell them, I was like, bro, like, what have I been telling you? You need to outreach. You need to compensate for your shitty quality with a lot of volume, okay? And you've just sat there with your finger up your ass doing nothing for like 2 hours a day. Of course you're broke. Like, the biggest thing is just you need to take one action to like get closer to the right action. And that was me in the beginning, you know? And thankfully, I was able to learn that lesson the hard way through door to door, rather than, because I feel like you learn more through taking action anyways, because, you know, I mean, you send like a shit ton of cold emails, right? And compared to like your 1 millionth cold email versus your first 1,000, it's like night and day difference in terms of experience, you know? And it's the same thing on my side when it comes to like email campaigns or just client acquisition in general.
And one thing to consider too is like, even if you don't have any money, you can do door to door depending where you are. The way I got to my first clients was literally door knocking. And actually, I'll see if I can overlay the flyer I had. I literally had a flyer with my services, and I figured if I give out hundreds of these, I will get a client.
What were you selling?
I was selling social media management.
Oh
I literally had a paper I had a link to accounts we were managing for like case studies. I was doing it for free for some people. And I handed out hundreds of flyers. I would drive to a city, I would go to the downtown, and I would literally just go shop by shop. It taught me how to be charismatic, how to talk to people, how to get rejected. And I signed a lot of clients. I probably signed 10 clients doing that. And it's just brute force. It wasn't skill. It was just on the weekends, or sometimes during the week, I went out and I just handed out enough flyers that people take sympathy on me, honestly, and give me a chance.
Absolutely. I mean, you could literally the thing is that people have to understand, especially beginners, every client acquisition method works. Every single one.
Yeah.
Like, you could be selling SEO to lawyers. If you just do enough flyers, it will work, you know? But people just don't want to do the first step. So I think like the tactical advice I give to all my students is like, is that, you know what? Don't focus on, because when we say, oh, brute force and high volume, like ignore that. Just send your first one to realize how easy it is and then scale from there. You know, like don't think about, okay, I'm going to copy Boyan's infrastructure and warm up like 100 email accounts. Just get your first 2, you know, get your first 2 and then you realize, oh, actually it's not that hard. Just get 10 more, just get 20 more, you know? And then before you know it, you have like agency doing like 30, 40K a month.
Yeah, this is something that I've just drilled in. And I think it's, especially if like a lot of the promises of AI tools, it's all selling, you don't need to work and you get a result. That's what everything's selling. And I think one of the benefits of back when we were doing this was there was less of that available.
Oh, bro.
Which I'm actually grateful for.
I mean, back then, the only true cold email tool was like Lemlist or like Gmass. Remember the fucking Chrome extensions that you attach to like the email senders to automate? Oh man, like it was wild. But now you have so many like lovely tools to save you time. But I feel like it's also fostered a lot of laziness.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I mean, OG tools, Gmass. There was a couple others that we use in like extension. I was literally just using Gmail accounts. It'd be like Michael Gardiner 2000, and I would just send out emails, and it was horrifically unprofessional, but it
got results
work.
Though. It works, yeah. Or like doing manual looms.
Bro,
I was doing like 10 a day. It's crazy. And then, back then I didn't realize, I could just do a 2-minute pitch. My looms were 10 minutes long, you know? And beginners, the thing is, it's like you just don't, they want to buy a course and have their problems fixed, but no course, coaching, AI tool, whatever can actually do the work for you. And people are just avoiding the work.
Another thing too, with the looms you mentioned, if I'm looking to hire somebody, or at least considering it, and you put in this much time to reach out to me, that says a lot about character. So I think that the amount of effort you put into reaching out to somebody, I think people appreciate that too. You know, if you're willing to record a 10, 15-minute video of ideas before you've ever met me, you at least have some work ethic and also some creativity. Because back when we were doing looms, that was not a known outreach strategy. Like, it was creative, took a lot of work, and it showed a lot of determination. So that all added up.
This one client I remember specifically, I signed first year of my business. This brand was my dream brand to work with. I've been watching this guy on YouTube since I was like 13. And they ended up paying us like $90,000 lifetime, right? And how I got this guy was, I cold emailed him 22 times manually, right? Manually, as in typing up every email, setting an event on my calendar of when to follow up with him next. Everything was bespoke, 3 looms. And then later on, I realized it was the wrong email address. He doesn't log into that one. So
painful.
On the 23rd email, I cold email his wife. His wife replied to me. And that was how I got the client. And how I signed them, I was like, bro, like I've been following up with you. And you can see since April, now it's October. You gotta work with me. And then they're like, yeah, okay, cool. And they paid me $90K, you know?
That,
I think like manual prospecting is so underrated. Like if you just create a list of 20 brands you want to go after and really want to sign, I bet you can sign at least one of those 20 brands in whatever niche you want. Like even you said SEO to law firms, right? If you just set 10 law firms aside and just in rotation way outside the office, you just get facial recognition. Like, you know, they're going to work with you at some point.
I do agree. I do agree. Now, moving away from like when you just started, you mentioned you started with ads.
Yeah.
Now, where you're at right now, it's just email. So I'm curious, what was the thought process behind, instead of being a growth partner or instead of having a suite of services, what made you decide to just move into email and stick with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted a simple life. As in like, I even now, one of my things I try to stick to in business is that I love having simplicity. So for example, if you look at my team structures, all the funnels I use, everything is super simple. And it makes my life inevitably a lot easier. Like for, I'd say maybe 3 to 6 months of the year, I'm working like 5 to 15 hours a week on the agency. And it's still growing, right? Obviously, there's going to be a 3 to 6 month period every year where it's like a fucking sprint, you know, like Q4, for example, last year we went from like 60K to like 130 in like 2 months. And in agency, I mean, you know, like scaling operations to handle 60 versus 130 is different, you know, like it was nuts. But keeping everything simple. And in order to be a growth partner, I knew I needed to introduce a lot of like operational complexity into the service in terms of just having different departments, like creative department, editing department, media buying department, like reporting department, like VAs to connect supermetrics and all of this shit, right? Just didn't want to do that, honestly. And email, we had better retention and we had more consistent results, and it was just much easier to build the service around.
Now, do you think if somebody's watching this and they're looking at where to start, that email is still a good route to go with ecom?
It's very competitive, I'll be honest. Like, it's super competitive. It's not bad, but not really. There's better niches to go down, let's be honest. Like, for example, go sell air filters. I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, go sell something that's not what everyone is trying to do. Like, looking back, would I start an e-com email agency? Probably not. If it was this day and age, I'd probably start like, I find like traditional business is very attractive right now. Like, I don't know, like I might go start like a lawn care company or something, you know? Or even if I had to do online, it was definitely like one of my biggest mistakes. I'd be a multi-millionaire right now, rather than just 7 figures, is if I just got to like 30K a month with agency and started coaching.
Yeah.
You know?
The coaching margins are insane.
It's nuts. And I had crazy limiting beliefs about not wanting to be a guru and blah, blah. And I just realized all of that is shit. But now I'm going to do coaching this year. That's why I took like the one-on-ones. Because I've waited so long, I also feel like there's not many people more qualified to teach agency. Because not many people is doing 7-figure agency with really healthy margins and their head doesn't want to explode, you know? Because I know 7-figure agency owners, sometimes they're very stressed out people, you know? Because they just set up their team structures wrong, they don't have communication, and just like management layers, they don't have the right exec team, I guess, you know?
There's very few people doing agency coaching that have any credentials, let alone.
Yeah, they've never touched 100K month ever. You know,
Yeah.
they say they have, but they haven't.
That 100K month is normally a mixture of coaching and agency.
Yes,
But you don't get
with coaching being like 70K and agency being like 30, 40.
Where you and me have a proper opposites. We're talking, my coaching revenue is about 10% right now.
Yeah.
Agency's 90.
Yeah.
And I think the split for you is even more dramatic.
Oh yeah, it's like 95. I mean, I did the coaching. Well, I haven't made anything off coaching in the last 30 days. I just sold the one-on-ones just to, because I feel like the problem now, if I were to build a course, is I'm very removed from like beginner problems or like people who are like 10 to 20K a month. Because like, it's like, you know, speed running Mario to a world-class level and then trying to help a beginner how to cross level 1. It's like, bro, jump here, jump here, jump. It's not that hard. Like, you mean, you know? But so the one-on-ones was more just like problem discovery. And now I feel like I have a pretty good grasp and I can actually build like a decent program. But one of the things I'm debating is actually not selling to anyone who actually want to start an e-com email agency. Because, I mean, it's not the best niche, first of all, for a beginner. But also, why would I actually try to create my own competitor? Like, it's so stupid, you know? And if I'm trying to get the agency to 500K a month right now. So, yeah, I don't want to create like another 7-figure competitor, you know? Like, it's pointless.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. Now, in terms of selling this info product coaching program, whatever you want to call it, is the goal to do that from ads, outbound, organic? Where do you see that heading?
I'll probably start with organic and then move into paid, because I think I like organic. It's very chill. I'd rather not because I don't want to divert too much attention to it. Because agency is going to be my main thing, because that's exitable. I'm trying to get to I want to build enterprise value in the agency. And right now, the biggest problems right now are just key man risk with myself. And we're not single channel, but we're technically single channel because all of our referrals and partnerships stem from single channel, which is like YouTube. So outbound, we need to build a really strong outbound system. And we need the outbound to be the driver to get us to 500,000 a month as opposed to YouTube or like relationships or the split needs to be more like 80-20 rather than the other way around like it is now.
Now, going off that, one of the questions I'd like to ask is, so many agency owners who have built a personal brand say it's one of the best decisions they made. Would you agree that getting on YouTube and Instagram has been...
Yes, because all of my network can be traced to a personal brand, you know? Like how I met you, you know? Why would I be on this podcast? 'Cause I have a personal brand too, you know? I think it has a lot of positives for sure, but I think also a lot of beginners have it is a bit of a distraction for them. Because nobody cares if you're consistently vlogging every day of you struggling. Like, you know, people want to see people win. It's very entertaining, you know? But if you're just couldn't be asked to launch a cold email campaign today. Oh, I can't, this is so hard. Like, you're basically projecting your own limiting beliefs onto the world. Like, it's so stupid. So, yeah. But it's by far one of the best decisions, 100%.
People ask me when to start a personal brand. The generalized answer I give, obviously it depends, is once you're selling something that you're confident you're going to be selling for the next year or two, that's probably when you can start making content around it. That means you generally have 5 to 10 clients, you have some team, you have systems. What you don't want to do is build a brand around, I'm the lead gen for real estate guy, and that then transition to audience to, I do Facebook ads for e-commerce, then transition to, I build affiliate programs for software. Like, the audience is not going to transfer.
Well, I think also my favorite videos to watch back on of my own, and that's why I'm doing I'm starting vlogging again. It's like the vlogs I've made. You know, like when I went back to China to visit the places I grew up in 2019 before the business, or when I was on the come up in the first year, because I gave up haircuts to save money and time, you know, so I shaved my own head. I look dusty as f***. I was still closing 4 or 5K retainers. It's crazy. Those are my favorite videos to watch. I never watch my tutorials and all of this stuff that actually gets me clients, you know? So I think you can start your personal brand, but make it personal and do videos like maybe once a month or something in the beginning until you get to that point where you can actually build a content strategy, you know?
Yeah, you want to do your YouTube videos after you've outsourced lead gen with Hunter.
Yes, that is brutal. That is very brutal.
Well, Boyuan, coming to the end of this interview here, one of the questions I like to ask people is, what is the long term? You mentioned selling the agency. So is the goal to build and sell the agency, even just going on a coaching? Like, where do you see the, more 5-year and beyond vision?
Sure. I don't think I'll even sell the agency necessarily. It's more just like I want to build it to because I watched Alex Hormozy made this point click in my head, which was like, you should always build to sell. Because number one, let's talk about like benefits for the team if you're building to sell, right? Because if you don't build to sell, essentially what that means is a lot of the time is the business is dependent on you. You're an operator, not an owner. The downside for the team is it's job risk. If you die, business dies, you know? So if you want to treat your team good, you should build to sell, because it creates actual stability, because the business doesn't depend on a single person. Like I'm not saying I'm not going to go into depression, but like if I suddenly become like schizophrenic and all of this shit, my business dies. I need to be hospitalized for 3 months. My business, it won't die, but like it's going to get impacted, right? So that's on a team side. On a client side, you should build to sell, because again, key man risk. You go down, team goes down, client goes down, right? And then on a personal side, there's gonna be a point in your career where you don't wanna work on this business anymore. So you should have the option to sell without impacting the rest of the team. Like if I wanna close the company down now, I'm gonna have 15 mortgages that are unpaid, you know? Or like they'd have to find another opportunity. So actually, I think like building to sell is what I should be doing anyways in any company, you know? So yeah, that's what I'm building towards for the agency. And I think I can get it to like a 10 to 15 million enterprise value, which is like pretty rare, I'd say, for an agency.
And then you'd want to be more of a passive asset, you're saying?
Yes, passive asset. And because the thing is, it's like, I don't know any really big agency that has good fulfillment. That's the problem. I think past the 300 to, I think past 500K a month, I'm probably going to have to sacrifice a lot of service quality. Just by sheer size of the team, you know? And then obviously I want to do coaching for cash flow, but there's also like a little SaaS thing I'm working on. That could be like another 10 to 20 hit.
Is it something you can talk about yet, or?
I mean, the product is almost built, but like I don't want to necessarily put that out.
Next interview next year. Next time in Dubai, we'll talk about your
in 5 more years, we're gonna meet again. Yeah.
Be 30 then.
Yeah, I know, right? Crazy. We're the same age. I thought you were 29, bro. Don't know why.
It's just the height.
Yeah, but anyway, so yeah, that's the goals. I don't think I'll stop working. Like, I want to get to 100 mil net worth, and if I achieve, because I feel like if I can achieve 100 mil at a decent age, then I can hit $1 billion quite easy, you know? I don't really care about being a billionaire. I'm not trying to be on some like, Interpol watch list, but like, I think 100 is like a pretty cruising amount. 20 to 100, anywhere in between, I'm good with.
And what are you going to spend that on?
I mean, this year I want to buy a Ferrari.
Sorry?
Like, I'm going to buy a Ferrari. And I think I'll do it before I start selling the coaching program, because like
the guru.
Yeah, like I want to be able to say, yeah, I got my first supercar before starting anything coaching related, you know? Because a lot of people it's like they say, oh yeah, I came up through agency, or I came up through dropshipping, and and then they start coaching a year later, they have the Lambo, and it's like, oh yeah, like dropshipping paid for this, like, and it's like, bro, like you're selling 3K packages to like 100 people, like, you know?
But Ty Lopez, he made a proven strategy, and it's been replicated. Supercar sell info.
I know. Yeah, it's true. That's why I also want to get the Ferrari, because I'm like, look, guys, look, you can see I started coaching last month.
Here in my parking garage.
Yeah, here in my garage. You know?
Well, Boyan, thanks for being on the channel. I will link your socials down below, so YouTube, Instagram, and also your agency if you're an e-com and want to work at Boyan. So thank you for coming on the channel.
Thank you for having me, bro.
There we go.
Take care.